Hey, how's it going? It's been quite some time since any podcasts or audio projects have been released onto this channel. And I really hope that everybody's been doing well in the meantime while I've been missing in action. If you haven't been doing well, I'm sorry. And please feel free to write to me so we can get you the help that you need. My email, as always, is in the description. And also it's on the channel somewhere, so you can find it pretty easily. Just send me a message and we'll get in contact. Look, I haven't been exactly 100% myself, but I think those of us who've been around long enough on this channel know that a huge reason why I started messing around with audio and making what ended up being the Void in the first place was to deal with some pretty intense and extreme trauma and to try and entertain people who might be going through similar stuff. But before you go off getting too excited, no, this does not mean that The Void is coming back, nor does it mean that I'm doing another show. I have no idea what this is, and I don't want to promise anything only to end up disappointing the few people who seem to get genuine enjoyment out of my little side gig. As a matter of fact, I actually changed the channel name, and I decided that if I ever do start to upload again, I'm going to be taking a much more laid back approach to all of it. No real name behind it, no attempt at marketing it on social media or anything like that. Maybe, the occasional Snapchat post, but look, I don't have the energy to commit to anything right now, and frankly, I think it's a little bit embarrassing to be the guy hyping up his YouTube podcast when the majority of people out there have lives and genuinely don't give a shit. So consider this a glorified mic test. I've been experimenting with different mixes and audio settings on my new desktop PC, which I got to play video games with my friends while I'm at home resting. Well, let me tell you, for multiple reasons, there isn't much resting going on here. But the PC, man, this thing is nice. It's got a 4070 Ti graphics card, 16 gigs of RAM, an i7 13700 KFBGZD, blah blah blah. The point is, it's got more than enough juice for the purposes of podcasting and mixing. I've got it cooked. I've got it hooked up to a couple monitors, and yeah, really, it's kind of ended up becoming kind of quite the perfect setup for doing audio work, which is what sort of inspired me to just hop on here and mess around. And again, that's all this is. So, I got no complaints about this setup. But people who know me know that I love nothing more than to complain when there's nothing to complain about. I'm not doing any good to help disprove a certain stereotype about my European ancestors, but there is one complaint that I do have. My desk wobbles just a bit. It's a collapsing standing desk on top of like a 10-year-old IKEA desk. So it checks out. It makes sense why it'd be giving me a little wobble, but it's there and it's noticeable, and man, it kind of pisses me off. But the mic I'm using is exactly the same and shouldn't sound too much different. A couple of tweaked settings here and there have achieved a familiar sound, and it's one that I'm satisfied with. And now pretty much the only decision that's left to be made audio-wise is whether or not I go all the way and invest in a full swinging boom mic arm, audio interface, and connect multiple microphones and channels to it and whatnot. Or if I just keep it super simple, USB input, and kind of no bullshit, and just keep this as a me thing. And that is not a decision that I feel like I need to make today. In fact, the only decisions that I intend on making today are about food. Breakfast and lunch are taken care of. So all that's left is dinner, and then the day is done. I'm living the simple life, one that I wish I could say was pain free, but I've been prescribed enough narcotics to put me under 24-hour federal surveillance, so I'm usually just loopy enough to find some enjoyment, in there during the daytime. But I swear, when I leave home in the rearview mirror, I see a blacked out sedan pull around the corner and tail me all around town. Always one lane over. Always 2 car lengths behind. It used to freak me out at first, but now I just appreciate the company. But in all seriousness, I find that the amount of painkillers you can be prescribed if you have a terminal illness and still be legally allowed to drive, slightly amusing, but mostly just terrifying. Like, sure, I'm done for, right? But if I pass out with my foot on the gas in the middle of rush hour, go flying through a school bus, that's fucked up. That sucks. And speaking of flying, the same thing goes for flying. I mean, did you know that you do not need a medical check or a doctor's approval to be licensed to fly an ultra light sport aircraft or a glider? You need to have your driver's license to prove that you have vision that's safe enough to operate a vehicle. But that's it. It's insane. I'm not trying to be the guy that ruins everybody else's fun, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of freaky, man. But yeah, anyway, one day during a flight lesson, the conversation about, eventually doing my solo check ride came up, and it hit me that I was going to be allowed to fly an airplane completely by myself, given my condition. And I was like, oh my God, like that's I don't know. It kind of freaked me out to the point where I was like, I don't really want to do that. I'd rather just take lessons for the fun of it until it hurts too bad to do so, and then call it good. I mean, what's the point in putting people in the sky, but most importantly, on the ground, in danger just for my own ego or for like a few Instagram posts, just to say like, yeah, I'm a private pilot. But in reality, I mean, I still wouldn't be a private pilot. It's a different license. It's like an ultra light sport license. It's a different category, but I mean, you still don't want to crash any kind of plane, no matter how big or small it is. So the flying was something that I got into for a while, a few months post surgery, and it was cool. I really liked it, but yeah, then I just started kind of, the pain kind of started building up, and now I got the PC, I can just do the simulator, man. I'm all good with the sim. All I'm really gonna say about my medical situation is I'm sure a lot of people have questions about it. Is that besides the obvious fact that I survived the giant surgery that I needed, I decided to stop chemotherapy treatment and just to live as well as I can for myself until till the end of my days. Which I'm sure might be relatively sooner now that I'm not, on treatment. But the thing about treatment is, particularly for my special case, is that at times it was killing me just as fast, if not faster, than the disease was. So especially now, it really wouldn't guarantee me any more time. Plus, I love my hair, man. I love it. It came back so full and curly, and it's just so nice to have hair. So again, yeah, I choose a simple life. I wake up, I take my medicine, I eat oatmeal, I try and write, I fall asleep, I take more medicine, I hallucinate, I sleep that off. I have lunch or an early dinner, I take more medicine. Ouch. Yeah, somewhere in there I find time to clean myself and ponder the philosophies of nature, life, love, happiness, and the universe as I struggle for my life on the toilet seat. I mean, I don't really have much of my colon left, so it makes it a little tricky. But you'd never know by looking at me, and I'm like, I'm relatively rebuilt. I don't have any bags hanging out of me or anything like that, and that was super important for me. Is I just wanted to be as much like myself as possible. And right now, aside from my really nasty attitude that I've got, I'm pretty much the same person. So I'm you know, knock on wood, that kind of stays the same for as long as possible. Then after a long day, I usually just drift off into a semi-lucid sleep, caught somewhere between happy memories and existential dread about one day no longer existing as a human being. But look, there's no point in romanticizing it. Most of the time, I want to be dead because my body hurts, man. It hurts bad. I still have a bunch of tumors in me, and they're only going to keep growing. Um, but it's the human spirit to push on and to endure. And I find little things keep me going, like little victories, like crumpets. Like there is nothing better than a warm, toasty, buttery crumpet. And our little secret, just between you and me, is that Trader Joe's of all places has some of the best crumpets I've ever had. The only thing to keep in mind about the Trader Joe's crumpets is that you've got to store them in the fridge because they'll mold on you and they'll mold quick. Seriously, I'm talking like 1 to 2 days they'll go from fresh to just covered in mold. But you keep them in the fridge, they'll last at least a week and a half. And I haven't made it past that because I've usually eaten them all before they can last any longer in there. The diet has been a huge issue for me post-op. I mean, it's also not something I really feel like talking about right now. But I can't eat most foods anymore, which has been a huge morale dump. So when I do find little bits of things like that my body can actually tolerate, like the crumpets, they become even more special to me. And I'm still drinking tea. I still have a huge enjoyment, or I still get huge enjoyment out of tea. I just had a glass not too long ago of a tea that I believe I had been drinking when I was doing the void. It's called like Granny's Apple Pie or something like that. It's fall time again, and it's just like a nice warming fall tea. Oh man, I forgot how exhausting it is to just like stand and talk in front of a microphone. I see how this is like a full-time job for people. Um, but I enjoy it. It's nice to return to old hobbies with zero expectations just to see, how it is for a day. And some of this was written out ahead of time, and I found it's better for me that way so I don't lose track of my thoughts mid-sentence. And I feel like my voice can be much more clear and communicate what I want better. So I'll take it. And I can't tell you or promise you that I'll ever upload anything on here again. But you never know. One day I could feel inspired to do so. But as always, thank you for listening. And do whatever you want today. Because tomorrow is never promised. And, oh shit, I keep, that's another thing about this desk, man. I keep bumping myself on it and it's starting to hurt, starting to get bruised up a bit. Sorry, my washing machine's going off. I don't know if you can hear that, but anyway, tell someone you love that you love them if you haven't done that in a while. I gotta get better about doing that. But, all of that said and out of the way, for now, take it easy and goodbye.